Did you say at a time there was people outside your house?
Oh yes. So there was the drove up. How did you know about that?
You've done
He was one of them.
Oh.
You don't recognise me without my binoculars and my Achilles. No. You did do
I have a
thing.
big glass door.
Yeah.
It's like, I thought you looked from the
Here's the crack, here's the crack, here's the crack, here's the crack, here's the crack. Welcome back, talking shit and drinking wine. Like and subscribe. Here's the crack.
How's it going, people? Welcome back to another episode of the Here's the Crack podcast. We have another guest on today.
Hi.
I actually think you're, looking back on now, you're the first girl we've had on in ages.
Really? Why is that?
I don't know. I think it's just wow. Okay.
Cornered. Go on, dig your way out of this one.
Dear. I think it's just, I don't know. I think it's hard to get people. I think it's hard to just get people who actually will reply. I think we have messaged a lot of like we have messaged a lot of people, and I would say it's like 50-50. But it's just like a lot of people just don't reply. I think they just see. I think the issue is they see like our branding pop up, and it kind of looks like almost like it's good branding. Not bashing our branding. I would just say a lot of people are probably looking at it and being like, oh, it's probably someone who wants me to promote flipping a shaver or something along the lines out there and just
Or do you mean like
ignoring us.
masculine vibes? Do you mean, or like?
I don't know. Like, I would say that, would you have seen our, like, if I had messaged you off the Here's the Crack, like, apart from me coming up to you that night and being like, come on our podcast, would you have, like, being honest, because this is actually good feedback for us, would you have, like, actually opened
Yeah, no, see, I like comedy and I like funny stuff.
Yeah.
So I like coming on, and people that come on your podcast tend to have a bit more crack. Literally, it's called Here's a Crack. It is a bit of crack.
Yeah.
Everybody that comes on and talks to us versus like the so formal setting and stuff.
Yeah.
So I do like that more than I like the other more formal podcasts.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe you could feed us back some names that we could message, because like there I think we do have a wide variety of people who come on here, but like looking back on it now, it's like we've had a good few like female guests and stuff on, like Victoria Quinn and Bernadette and all them, but like it just
the last one, Victoria, was it? I can't
Yeah,
even remember.
Bernadette.
Fuck, that was ages ago as well.
a while ago, like
Not good.
it does make us look a bit one-sided, but we don't do it for any other
And
reason other than the fact
it
that
sounds
no
like
one
you're like you're seeing it and you're like, oh, we need to get more. It's not
Yeah.
like you're trying not to.
No, we would like it. Like, we like a good variety, but at the same time, it's just hard sometimes to try and get. And we've done this so long now, where it's like, it starts to feel now like the guest list is kind of like depleting. Where we kind of want to keep a Northern Ireland focus on it, or like an Ireland focus on it. But it's kind of now it's like
There's only so many.
you feel like used to be you were just firing DMs left, right, and centre, and it was like happy days. But now as it's growing, you're kind of wanting to get people on that you know you're going to have a good chat to.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think
But
a lot of people aren't like leave here as well. Like we find, like we were talking about with Bernadette Haggins, and we're sort of like, do you feel like opportunities are sort of limited here compared to like you obviously live in Liverpool?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying when you were asking me like, do you like Liverpool and things. I was saying it's so much bigger than Belfast.
Yeah.
And I would honestly consider leaving just for that like aspect of being able to have more available to me.
Yeah.
Because over here, even like online sound stuff, you've got like 3 places to go, like main places, and it's just a bit limiting.
In terms of like work as well, I suppose, like do you find there's more opportunity over there? Like
Well, because I do social media, it's more like it doesn't really overly matter where you are. I kind of fit into both the UK and the Ireland demographic.
Yeah.
So brands that are wanting to do that, then I get them both. And they kind of like the USP of Northern Ireland because they don't really get much from Northern Ireland. So I kind of have that for me as well.
I feel like we haven't introduced you yet, but for those listening,
Who
the
is this
voice
girl
that you're
talking?
hearing, India Sasha.
Hi.
Thank you very much for coming on.
No problem.
I would say you'll probably know you more than you probably know us, to be honest with you, like in terms of people listening, because you've had a really good run in the past like 2 months or 3 months. Like, not to say that you haven't been doing well beforehand, but
no, it did pick up. I will be the first to admit it. It picked up.
Virality wise, you were always on my For You page at the start.
Yeah.
But recently you've been on like you've Lab Bible and all that there. Like,
Mental.
explain what, because I feel like you took it to like just a complete other level, where it's like you're doing stuff with yourself and like friends and family and stuff, and now you're actually like out pranking people.
Oh,
and, like I say this, pranking people and stuff, but like think that video that I first saw was the rock paper scissors one, and like the way you zoomed into the guy at the far end of the table, and he was just like, what the heck? I was like, that is class. But like did that come to you like beforehand, or was it always something you wanted to do, or like?
See, me and my family, and like it's weird because we are always pranking each other. It's just like a natural occurrence in my house. Like we're always doing stuff on each other, and it just so happened this night I was out. It was a spontaneous night out, no plans, nothing was planned, and sat down with these group of boys, and I was getting a bit frustrated because I said that I did TikTok, and they're like, oh, would you just do them wee dances then? And I was like, do you want to see what I do?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, okay, go on then. So then I pulled that prank on them, and then afterwards we're like, I'm so sorry, like you're so dead on. Like I was like, I know.
Is that an annoyance thing? Because like as soon as people say like if you say like I do TikTok, or people immediately like, oh, do you like? I'm gonna be honest, is it like a female thing where they immediately look at you and they're like, you must do dances?
Yeah, like thirst trappy stuff. Like that's what they think. Oh, so you do all that stuff? And I'm like, no, actually, I really don't. Like it's nothing at all like that. I feel like my stuff is not the type of stuff that you look at and think, oh yeah. It's more the type of stuff you look at and think, oh right.
Yeah, I feel like it's always you kind of start the video off, and there's some of the stuff I've seen it, and I think it's that people expect that. Whenever they see a girl on their For You page, they immediately, I think that's where their head goes, and then like you just switch
Shock
it around
factor.
and they're like, okay, I didn't realize that happened. But like, have you found now like that you're doing stuff like that? How like did Lab Bible just contact you and was like, we want that video, or did they just share it without you knowing? And you?
No, well they did contact me, and they also wanted to know if they could like buy it to license it or something. And I don't really know about it, so I kind of stayed away from it. But apparently, like they then go to different TV shows and stuff, and would like sell it, because I was on The Last Leg. Do you know The Last Leg on Channel 4?
Yeah.
I was on that as well. Like they had me on that.
You were on it? Like the show or
not
the video?
myself in my body.
That's
my video, but it was me. It was me.
Yeah.
But
That's cool.
I know, because your guy Alex, he is so like I love him. Like he's a funny man too, and I love that.
Yeah, it's a good show. But was there anyone that shared it that didn't like ask? Like, was there any sort of a part of it that was annoying with the video going viral? You're like, I can't believe like no credit or nothing. Like?
Yeah. A lot of the time it was people actually tagging me and then saying you could have at least give her credit. I had like a wee army of people ready to give me credit and stuff, and I was like, yeah, like thank God you were tagging me, because I wouldn't have even known half the places it was shared unless people seen it and then knew it was me and then tagged me.
I think I seen it on Puberty and all as well on Instagram. It's like
I feel like a lot of them accounts follow Lad Bible, and they're just like, Lad Bible's doing this, texting someone else, get on that, like screen record that video and get it up. But like we I think it's happened to us like twice. I think like someone says, I don't know whether it was Boojum or someone associated with Boojum.
Boojum.
Because
Boojum, why are you saying like that?
Boojum, whatever. He just didn't look like he was.
Do you call it a burrito?
Burrito. But like Shay basically done this. He was on and we were talking. It was from a random podcast. I think we put it up on TikTok where he was saying about this Boojum hack. Yeah. And the next minute I was just scrolling down and I seen this guy and I heard Shay's voice and I was like, hold on a wee second, like I know that voice. And then when I watched the video on, he'd like clipped our thing and just I think you commented on it, was like, cheers for the tag.
Yeah, I was like, thanks for sharing, but a tag would have been nice or something, but like,
and then a newspaper's done it before where like I forget who it was. Like there was like a news site.
You know Belfast Live, like this one,
Dublin
like they
Live.
posted a thing on Twitter and like didn't tag
Olivia
us.
Neal,
but then they did. Yeah. Oh yeah, that was weird. Like.
We were
then I suppose we didn't credit Olivia Neal for that though. So
I know, she was really struggling with us.
We were talking about the whole like, is she the face of Ryanair? And they done like a full article, but like we were taking the piss. We were like, oh,
I thought she was.
We
like,
can see like a wee mole and all this here, but they. Like,
it was your video I seen, you convinced me that it was her.
Yeah, the guys were like, the lads on the Here's the Crack podcast have debated this, and I was like, I don't think we have, because we were sitting in my girlfriend's kitchen, like, because we were without a studio, sitting in my girlfriend's kitchen, and it just literally came up, and it was like a 15-minute conversation, and it was on Dublin Live and then Belfast Live, and we were like, how? But like it was when you actually read it, they were proper delving into it, like as if we were like conspiracy theory nuts, like.
Oh, serious?
Like quote marks and all. Like, this is what he said and all. Was mad.
Oh God, that's a bit strange.
Yeah,
I can't
scary,
wait for it, and someone's like,
imagine you did say something bad.
Yeah.
You'd be fuck.
Fingers
once it's
touch water,
out
hasn't
there.
happened yet.
Like, you actually do think about it
Taken
when you
the wrong
post
way.
TikToks and stuff, and you see the amount of times it's been shared. You're like even if you did delete that, it's probably saved somewhere on someone's WhatsApp or something, and it's like there's no getting that back. So thankfully, touch wood, we haven't actually.
I know it kind of scares me doing social media at the same time, because you're so scared once you do something, like you could be cancelled like that, and it's just you don't want to say something ever that could be misinterpreted or wrong or anything. Like it's so, like sometimes I'm even scared, especially because I do like some work with different brands that would maybe be to younger audiences. I'm also afraid of like ever saying anything that's not like PG or is too suggestive. Like even the one with me putting my hand in my mouth got a lot of like comments. Types of comments about, you can imagine, and I was like, oh my god, should I delete that? But then at the same time, no, because it's not my fault, first of all, and it's going viral, so why would I not? But
is that like something that you've been thinking about more since you've started working with bigger brands, that like you need to watch about like what you're posting? Like I've turned down a couple brands as well because it conflicts with the image that I'm trying to make sure is kind of, do you know, like Disney squeaky clean, but not too, like, because I think that could be boring sometimes as well. Like you don't want to be no personality, and like exactly.
I am like a piss taker, so I like to take the
I
piss.
think people would pick up on that as well if you're being like, if almost like as if there's someone standing behind. I think that's what a lot of people like coming on here, is that there's not someone behind the camera standing with a gun like, did you say that, don't say that, and you're, you know, like you're very open and like you are good crack and stuff, and like how you do things is very unique. And if you went into like someone like a producer or whatever, like I say, I don't know, like a radio show or contact you, but you can't say this, like it's not what you'd want to do, like but like what's the overall goal? I feel like we have a list of questions here. I feel like we've jumped right to the very end, but like what's we'll start off at the end. What's your kind of goal for what you're trying to do?
Well, I kind of have two goals that are running along parallel to each other, because there's the goals that I have for what I want to contribute to society, and then there's the goals that I want to achieve for myself and the things that I want in life. It's kind of like I'm trying to make them both happen at the same time, but I don't want to just focus on one and not have the other. Like I want to make sure that whenever I'm doing everything, I'm trying to normalise disability and make it a more just normal conversation. Like I shouldn't be praised either for like being inspirational, or I shouldn't be like, oh wow, she's actually open about it as if it's shocking. It should just be normal, do you know what I mean? So that's like the one goal. Then the other side of things, it's like I want to get on TV, I want to have this car, I want to do this. Just like my two different goals, like completely, but they're running alongside each other.
What sort of TV would you want to do, though? Like,
I think I'd love to do presenting, to be honest, because I think it's more of a genuine one. Like I try to do like, it's a bit embarrassing, but I sort of try to do like acting and stuff when I was younger, and I did like it, but it felt too American for me. Do you know what I mean? Like really like, wow guys, like that type of thing.
So like who would you like to present for? Like if there was one show contacted you, like say you have 20 DMs of all these shows, what would be the one where you'd be scrolling down through and you'd be like, I need to reply to them?
Do you know, no, I'm thinking big here, so I don't think they DM me. I think they would email me or something.
That's so
or
weird
get in
that you
contact.
might, like,
I just think we're on a lower scale of the spectrum, so like a DM or an email is like, oh, like when someone sends us an email, I'm like, it must be serious, or it's spam probably.
I think well, my goal overall would be somehow to get famous enough to get on I'm a Celebrity, get me out of here. Don't know how I'm going to get there. I need to get famous enough first, get on that, and then after it, obviously win it. I have to try and win it, and then present it afterwards on the after show. Do you know the show the day after it's finished? Present on that. That would be like my perfect path through to presenting, but most likely not going to end up that way. But I do want to end
would
up
the I'm a Celebrity part just be a stepping stone for you, or would you actually like to go into the
No, I would love to go on it. Yeah, like I am terrified of spiders, but I guarantee now if the cameras are rolling and it's a competition, I will eat a spider. I will eat it alive. I don't care. I will do anything.
There you have it, ITV. Sign her up.
And if you had like two people who you were going into the jungle with, who would it be?
Gemma Collins.
Gemma Collins.
She'd be some crack.
She would. I feel like I'd have such good crap with her, just chatting away to her.
I think she'd rack my head. I could listen to her. Like.
I could imagine you waking up in the morning and hearing Gemma Collins singing or something, and you'd just be like, God's sake, shut up. Like you would dislike that severely.
It's a no for me.
It's a no.
Right, Tommy, me and you babes going to the shower. Let's go. Come on, big boy.
Oh my God. You used to love The Only Way Is Essex as well.
Yeah, it's so good. Such a good show.
Did you actually watch it?
No, Essex. Well, up until Joey left.
I never watched it.
Joey Essex. I'd love to go into the jungle with Joey Essex. He's brilliant.
He seems really innocent. Do you know what I mean? Like a really like we.
I feel like he's pretending though.
I think it's all an act. I think
that's one of the biggest British conspiracies. Like Joey Essex is actually smarter than he comes.
But
across.
he's obviously smart. Like if he's done so well, like he's not an idiot. Like
I don't know.
But then he's been on like every.
I think it's half and half.
Show.
I think he genuinely is a bit cuckoo, but at the same time,
it's got away.
He exaggerates.
It's got away from him sometimes. Like that time he was interviewed by Holly, was it?
Willoughby.
Willoughby.
And they're doing the mad thing where it's like,
what age are you?
This morning.
Like, I'm 32 next year or something. But he was like, I'll be 32. Or he was like, I'll be 32 in a year. Or something.
No, I think it was like when he was 30 and he was like, I'm 28 now and I'll be 29 this year, I'll be 30 next year.
And they were like,
I'll be 30. No, he was like, I'll be 30 next year. And they were like, but you're 28 now. And he goes, yeah, well, I'm 29 this year. And they're like, oh.
Yeah, the two of them were just sitting going, what was it he won? He was like, mass. But that's who would your second one be?
Somebody problematic. I need somebody to have a good argument with.
Like Boris Johnson.
I bring him in. Sure, I'll be telling the brushes her. I'll be sitting him down and be like, no, we need to get this sorted, honey. Like, please. Or I don't know. I think has she been on it already? Do you know that girl she's like banned from Twitter and everything now?
Oh, Katie Hopkins.
She's a milk. I've been haunted by her because she did one of the shows.
Haunted or haunted?
Haunted. Like,
haunted.
Ghosted in my dreams.
Showing up in Belfast and all like.
No, that'd be a better story. But no, whenever I was like talking about her before, and they said because whenever she was on what do you call it? This morning, is it this morning?
Yeah,
she's on this morning.
Piers Morgan
talking about baby names and children's names and how she hates them all, and she goes, I hate like place names and stuff, right? I was thinking, that's really offensive to me, but then her daughter's called the same name as me. India, and that's like I don't want to be called the same name as her daughter.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm being associated with this woman.
So if you're in the jungle, would you like she'd wake up and you'd be like, "There's only room for one India."
Yeah. What's your daughter's middle name? Can she go by that from now on?
Yeah. I don't know who I'd go into the jungle with. I don't know if I'd do the jungle. Well, I probably would.
Are you afraid of spiders or anything?
Nah.
You're fine with it.
Do you want to know the one thing that put me off the jungle? Yeah. Being in close proximity and living with other people, like people mess and stuff. Like I'm wild OCD. Like I'd eat a spider, no problem for a challenge, but like it's just like afterwards, like if we were eating or whatever and people just left all their crap lying, I'd be like, right, it's a communal area.
Yeah.
Wind your neck in. I'd be like, no. As soon as I like see a moldy dish, I'd be like, yeah, I'm a celebrity. Get me out of here, like messy. People.
What if it was Tom Hardy and he was leaving his dishes everywhere? Like you'd be like, clean up after you,
problem.
Tom. It's okay.
Tom,
do whatever.
Where are you going, Tom? I'm going to the waterfall to take a shower. Oh, sure, I'll come too. You already had a shower. No problem, Tom. Let me scrub your back. No problem.
Wow.
But like, so getting in there. But like at the start, because I read that is the Belfast article you'd done like 30 under 30.
Oh yeah. I didn't
Belfast
know.
Telegraph.
Yeah.
But like you'd sort of mentioned like at the start as like, you know, we're maybe going back here like 10-15 years whenever you were young, you like struggled with like your disability and stuff. But like how was that sort of to go from a transition where you seem very confident now, maybe I got it wrong, but like at the start, you know,
I'm great.
I'm great.
But
I think we all should think we're great.
at the start, like you'd struggled with it and you'd always said you'd like looked for other people to kind of like almost like get inspiration off of, or to like a role model as such, to like explain, like because they didn't go into grave detail but they just sort of glossed over it, so like go into a wee bit of detail about that.
Yeah, well, I feel like whenever you're younger, you always have somebody to look up to. Whether it's like, I don't know, loads of boys in my school, they love their favourite football player or something, and it's not because they look like them or whatever, but it's just they had somebody that they could look up to and wanted to be like for whatever reason. And I always wanted to see somebody who was like had a disability but was the vision that I had for myself that I wanted to be when I grew up. Like I'm quite a girly person, so I always wanted to see like, I don't know, like a gorgeous like lingerie model. Even when I was younger, it's like, why are there no like gorgeous women that have a disability? Why is there nobody I can look at and think, wow, they look like something that I want to be whenever I'm older? There's nobody really that is, well, there was nobody really that was kind of like that image for me. And it was just awful. Like you really feel like if there's nobody that I see that I want to be like when I'm older, then does that mean that I'm not going to be able to be that when I'm older? And then you start to feel really alone too, because there's nobody like that looks like you. and it's just kind of, it isolates you, and it makes you feel like as well that you're not accepted by society because they just don't have anybody like you being promoted anywhere. Like all these like elite things of TV and any sort of like media, they don't want to promote people with disabilities, especially back then. It's getting better now, like, but back then it was just absolutely awful. You really felt like you were like the shade into the corner type thing, but pretend like it's not there.
Yeah. Did you look at like the likes of people in magazines and stuff, but was there always that detached there where you were like
I can't be that'll never be me. Yeah.
That would be hard. Yeah,
it's just because the things that you want, because I would love to like be in magazines and do all these things, and that's always been the way it has been from when I was younger, except when I was younger there was just never that vision there. So I always just felt like whenever I told you earlier, I wanted to do like acting and stuff when I was younger. And I actually, one of the main reasons I give it up was because I had a conversation with my mum and said you should just do it. You should just go for like different, you should just audition even though you don't have the experience. And I was like, no, because how are they going to write that into the storyline? They won't want to write, why does that character not have one hand? Like why is that there? I convinced myself they'll not even want to even try and incorporate me into anything, because as far as I was aware, nobody was trying to incorporate anybody like me into anything. So even when it comes to things like that, like anything, it just felt like it was something that nobody wanted.
How did that translate into, I was going to say the real world, but like in terms of you're looking at celebrities and you're looking at the people who you want to be, you want to be like, or you want to see more role models off that, but how did that translate into like everyday, like school? Like did that have an impact on actual like relationships at the time, which also made that sort of harder as well?
Yeah. Well, I think even looking back, like there's always more that you kind of, the more you learn as you get older, the more you can look back and assess things more accurately. And whenever I look back at the likes of primary school, I was that person that floated between friendship groups, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I never really had my friendship group. I just always kind of tried to get along with everybody. I was trying to make everybody like me. I didn't want anybody to hate me. And if anybody didn't like me, I was really deeply offended. Like I was like, what have I done wrong? Because I had this like, I needed to be liked thing. And I just tried to be friends with everybody, but I never got to fully have anybody know me either, type thing. And then when it came to transitioning to secondary school, I went in with this big barrier up. Like I just didn't want anybody to properly know me, because I wanted them to know like the strong type of person that I am, and not like anything that would be weakness. Like I went in ready to be like, what do you mean? I was really, really reluctant to be nice to anybody.
Yeah. I would say secondary school would have been the hardest, because I know like that's the time where you talk to a lot of people, and like, you know, everybody sort of struggles around that time. But like if you're struggling to find where exactly you almost belong, or like find groups, but did you find that in secondary school that kind of like, we're all talking about like hindsight's a good thing, like, but did you find now looking back at it now, like a lot of negative like relationships were kind of developed? Yeah.
So I became friends with a particular friendship group that was really, really the type of friendship group that you should stay away from, because there's lots of negative influences that come from them. And it was like part of the worst period of my life. Like it really is true that you are who you surround yourself with. And I surrounded myself with people who just pulled me down and down, and just I just wanted to be there because it felt like they wanted me to be there. And I just felt like, well, these people accept me for who I am, so I'm just going to be comfortable here where I'm accepted, even though it was really, really bad for me. And it actually wasn't until I went to university, really, in I'd say 2019, 2020 was whenever I started really developing real friendships and being to the point where I am now, and I have like genuine friends around me who know everything about me and who I actually feel like I'm accepted by, and who aren't bringing me down. We're constantly bringing each other up, type thing.
Would you have any advice for anyone who's sort of struggling with the same sort of thing, say going into university or whether it be high school or whatever? Would you have anything to say to someone like that?
Yeah, well, I definitely think you need to accept yourself, because if you're going to constantly try and find other people to accept you, you can't find the people that you're actually supposed to be friends with until you accept yourself, because you're going to accept subpar friends, or you're going to be really trying to make people like you whenever like you are who you are, and you shouldn't be trying to change that to suit everybody, to make everybody like you. So I think just trying to work on your confidence, and then whatever that means, and trying to push yourself to put yourself out there more and do things that make you feel good about yourself.
I think that's one thing about uni, is like you sort of, when you go to uni, I feel like people always say like you choose your friends, whereas like when you're in like high school, it's more like you don't have that choice, if you know
Your
what I
form
mean.
class
you're
is just your friends. Yeah.
That's one thing I always look back at. Whereas in secondary school, I can relate to what you were saying, because I've had people I was friendly with, but I did, like, towards the end of secondary school, I floated about a lot of people, and it was just like a case of going in lunchtime, you're going speaking to one group, then going to another group.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like when it came to like actually going to uni, you knew I'm only here 2 or 3 days a week. I don't have to. And I feel like by the time you get out of secondary school as well, you're so done with the crap where you're just like, I cannot continue this on another 4 years. Like, I'm happy enough to either be completely on my own and be like happy about that, or like not get involved in like a group of friends who are just, it's going to be another 4 years of just kind of like, you're just existing. You're just kind of existing with them, and it's like you don't really belong. If that makes sense. Yeah. That's interesting that you kind of went the same way. But like, if you got friends now, obviously you're in Liverpool.
Yeah. So like, I was 2019. I was kind of, that was the year, do you know, your first year uni, when you feel like you almost do end up in like a hole of loneliness or something, because it's like the transition thing. So that year I got used to being on my own, and then I started selectively choosing my friends. Like, I didn't go out to be like, right, what is the qualifications here for finding a friend, but like, I just had people come into my life that were kind of reflecting the same energy that I had. Like, I have really genuinely good friends now that I know are contributing to my life, not expecting anything back, but that I contribute back to, because that's just the good relationship that we have. So I do have good friends now, and some of them aren't even in university. They're people that I've just like picked up along the way, like from random things. Like Ariana, I'm friends with, she would be my closest friend. Then I've got my uni mates that I live with, and I chose to live with, and they are tidy, so I don't have to. If anything, I would probably be the messy one in the house. Oh dear. I would be a bit. I leave shoes sitting, which is my biggest thing. Shoes and coats is my big thing. Nice. But yeah, they're very nice.
She's looking at me out the side of her like peripherals, like as if like I'm sorry. So if I'm gonna be going over to like your house or something, going into your kitchen, be like, come on, like there's dishes everywhere. My
landlord's visiting on Monday, and I'm not going home till Wednesday, and I wasn't prepared for him to visit. So my room is just, I have a makeup corner, right? Not a makeup stand, a makeup corner. It's just my makeup all laid out into like the order that I do my makeup, but he won't think that. He will just think there's everything everywhere.
Will he just come in?
Yeah.
I find that so weird.
They have to give you 24 hours notice, and then they can just come in.
My a mate of mine that I used to work with in my old job, he was on his placement year and was going into final year, and the whole thing was going up to Holy Lands and trying to find like a house to live in. So he'd booked the day off work to go to a viewing. And I came into work the next day. I was like, how did the viewing go? He just went really red, because he was quite a quiet guy, but the landlord had brought them in to like the house, and I think the landlord had sent a message to like the tenants who were in it at the time. But when he walked in, and he was like you could just tell the house was like a house was proper, like a dump. Like they didn't know they were coming in. And the landlord opened one of the bedrooms.
No, I know.
I'm sure you could put 2 and 2 together, but there was a couple kind of, you know.
I want to know how they reacted. What did he say? What did they say?
I was just like, what did you do? And he was like, we just kind of like opened the door, and it was that sort of 30 seconds of like realization. And he was like, and there was a few boys behind, like there was like 6 guys, so like a few of them were behind, like, and they were kind of like shoveling up to be like, what's going on? Oh my god! Like, you know what I mean? God. He was like, I just sort of stood there, and the landlord just kind of like really gently shut the door. And I was like, imagine that happening. Like, you're just...
That's an opportunity to negotiate your rent for him walking in on you. That's what I would say.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm not buying this house until the sheets are changed in that bedroom. Like, I feel like, though, moving on from, like, obviously your actual, like, I think one thing you notice is that you've quite a good relationship, you've said, with your family. Like, as soon as I opened the door to let you in, your mum was standing there. I expected one person, and I just opened it. And the weird thing is, you look really similar.
Do you think
like
so?
Really similar. Where I opened up and I was kind of looking, I was like, oh my god, which one's which? And I was like, hello.
Well, I'd like to think she is stunning, but I'd like to think I've got a little bit less wrinkles than she has. I don't want to say the wrong thing, because
I know she's outside, so she's gonna come around and be like, what'd she say? But like, having like family like that, like, what does that, because I would love to know, what was the first time you actually realised, because I seen you done a video where you were like, reacting to, it was like a little girl in the back seat, and she was kind of like reacting to like noticing like she had like just something different. Where, like, do you have a recollection of when that happened for you, or was it always something like your parents and stuff tried to like say, so like make you notice first.
It was, as I say, like my family is very, like the household is very much full of clowns. Like we're all clowns in my house. And one of the ways that my daddy tried to like almost ease me into the things I was about to face growing up was by making jokes about my hand, but like in a way that was fine. Do you know what I mean? It sounds bad to say now because it's like your daddy made fun of you, and it's like, no, we made fun of each other. Like I would say, oh, you've got big ears or whatever, you look like Mr. Bean, and he'd be like something like, oh, you're one big hand, one small hand, you're like a clock. Do you know what I mean? Say things like that, and it just means that whenever I think about my hand being made fun of, it wasn't always a negative thing. It was like there's good memories there, and it was making me acknowledge it. But I think the only time I could remember anything kind of, the first thing I realised that it wasn't positive was whenever I was in like nursery school, and I was trying to cut up my chicken, and it was covered in gravy, and I just stuck my fork in, brought it up to my mouth, and was ripping it from, because that's the way it was easiest. And Mrs. Fox, you called her, she was like this old woman who ran the nursery school. She was trying to tell me, no, you can't do that, you have to cut it up and stuff, and I was just like, what do you mean? Like, I can't magically grow my hands back. Like, what did she expect wee 3-year-old me to do? And then my parents had tried to get me like prosthetics to like, there was like a prosthetic with a little like pocket in it where you could put your knife into, and I would like hold the fork and then use that to kind of cut it with, but it was awkward, and I just never really liked prosthetics. Like, but that was the first time I noticed kind of other people noticing. That was more other people versus me.
And look at her now, Miss Fox.
Yeah, I know. If you're still here.
You just going and finding your old nursery, walking in, cutting that bit of chicken, and just like, looking at her like,
look at me now.
Fair enough.
How do you sort of deal with it now? Like meeting new people, do you find people are like awkward around you, like when you first meet them, if you know what I mean? Like,
well, I think this is more pre-TikTok. I think because pre-TikTok there wasn't that. I feel like most people now that notice my hand, it's because they know that to notice. They know me from TikTok. Whereas beforehand it was like I remember going on dates and stuff when I was in my first year uni, and I would not order steak. I would not order steak because I would have to get the fork out, stick it there, do my whole thing, and I would just wouldn't. I would order something stupid like pasta. Do you know what I mean? And it was things like that. And then I did notice one time whenever I went on a date, I had always kind of sort of tried to post photos with my hand, sort of, so that I didn't have to face it in real life. Do you know what I mean? So that I didn't have to have that awkward like, oh, where'd that come from, or where did it not come from, where'd it go, type thing. And there was one time I went on a date and he didn't know, and he just noticed that as soon as he noticed going on the phone, oh I need to go, and then that was it. Never
seriously?
Heard from him again.
What?
Yeah. So if you're watching,
fuck me.
Yeah. So, like there are like awful people
would
out there.
Would that be one of the worst time like dates you've had, or like have you had any odd dates where you like anything like that?
No, that would be the
That's
worst
pretty
date
bad,
that yeah, I think I went out after that and just went on a complete
Did he at least
bender.
pay for it on the way out or anything? Or
Yeah.
He
did pay for it. Like, I suppose that was his guilty conscience trying to pay for that.
What? No, I couldn't imagine.
I'd have been fining him to pay the bill if he didn't.
Yeah.
That's awkward, like.
I know. I can't even remember his name now. It's kind of bad looking back. But this is when I was like,
name and
Tirana.
Definitely out on TikTok now.
Yeah. But like, like that's mad. How did that go then afterwards? You just kind of like, did that not? Them times, do you not feel like, because you are very like. You're very confident. Like that's one thing that a lot of people would come in here and it would be immediately like you'd be, as I say, drawing blood from a stone. Whereas you're very open, and like even whenever I come up to you at that Nico thing and I was like, do you want to come on the podcast? You'd be like, let's go chat, and like walk across. I honestly felt like I was coming on your podcast for a second. I was like, what's happening here? I was meant to like, no, but never mind. But how did that, like, because you're a confident person, but at that stage, do you have times where you're like, oh, shit?
It was just, I think internally I was like, this is so embarrassing, but externally I was like, well, I'm not going to text him, I'm not even going to ask him why he did, like I'm not even going to bother block. I would be the one to go block, not even try and get questions or like things answered. I just instantly would have blocked and moved on, because I didn't want to even acknowledge the rejection because of disability. Like it just wasn't like something that I even wanted to address back then at all.
And how do you deal even now with like you get your standard online comments and trolling? Like how do you deal with that as like a, because you do have a like your following's big, and like now that you've done the lab Bible stuff and all that there, like people, more and more people are being exposed to like you. So how do you deal with, because there will be people on a daily basis who are like let's shut her down. Like,
yeah, no, there's loads, but it's like always the same thing. Do you know, like somebody could make fun of you for something for so long, and then it just kind of becomes like, is there no new material? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes, you think my hand looks like a foot. Okay, what next? Like if your foot looks like this, you need to go to the foot doctor. It should not look like this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I get the other ones that are like, oh, all you make is content about your hand, and it's like, how's that different from people who do content about makeup or content about travel? They're like, well, it's not relatable. I'm like, well, there's like literally like nearly a quarter of people who have a disability.
Yeah.
It's not that uncommon. It's just you're not used to seeing it, and that's not my fault. But like otherwise, like I don't really deal with comments per se. Like I don't actually. It doesn't affect me now.
Acknowledging.
It's like more positive comes from me being unique than the negative. Like I enjoy being disabled. Is that like, see, that's like a strange sentence to even hear, but I genuinely do enjoy having a disability. Like it's good crack. It's fun. I get to prank people on nights out and freak them out. Like it's good.
I think it's like I feel like you see a lot of people on TikTok and on social media, and they do have a disability, and you're aware of it. But I find when it actually comes to like in real life, like I know we've met up with Bernadette Higgins and she's been on this podcast, but like you almost find that you're aware of it, and you're almost like trying not to like treat them any different. But like there's times like she'd come in and it's like, well, can I move that there for you? And you're trying to like make life easier, but then you're like, is she thinking like, wise up, like I can like I do have 2 legs here, like I can walk in, do you know what I mean? And it's you almost feel like you're like someone who isn't that used to it. You're like underestimating. It's like you're kind of like putting up this thing where you're pretending it almost, where it's like, should I mention it, should I not? Do you know what I mean? But like, do you find that now, like, has people just had an open and honest conversation with you about it?
Yeah, like I feel like there's never any harm in like asking questions or like talking about it in a polite way. I feel like if you are genuinely being genuine, it comes across that way, and there's absolutely no harm in that. Like I don't mind people asking me questions. It's better than staring or talking about me behind my back and then I hear about it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like I feel like it's always better to just be completely open with that person, because they're used to it, I'm used to it. People with disabilities are used to this being a conversation, and they'd rather it be a conversation than like an elephant in the room. Like I prefer to, anytime I'm with new people, it just be out there. Like I don't like to sit and be like, I wonder when they're going to say it, because that's how it used to be before TikTok. It used to just be, oh, I wonder if they're going to notice, when are they going to notice, how are they going to say about it, like and it was so awkward. It's
funny though, because whenever we had Bernadette on, there was like that first initial 5 to 10 minutes where I feel like none of us wanted to say anything, but it was what we were going to talk about on the podcast, because she's done so much. And then eventually she just started, like she showed us how her leg and stuff operated, like how it worked. And like I remember looking at it being like, this is so like, I'm so happy that you've actually sat down and had like a normal conversation, like showing us how things worked and stuff. And then she talked about the blade and stuff that she's going like running and all with. But like, would you wear anything to make life somewhat easier?
There are things. Well, there was back a few years ago something I was offered. It was a prosthetic limb that could actually move, but to get it I had to chop more of my arm off, which was like, no, I don't even, that's not really good. So I don't want that. And then when I was younger, there was like little things like a board that I could sort of like do that with, so I could like pick up like a book or a piece of paper or something. And then I had the ones to help me like cut things and stuff. And then my daddy used to make adaptions around the house so that I could like dry my hair and brush it at the same time, because I've like thick hair, and whenever I dry my hair I would get tatty if I don't brush it at the same time. But I can't do both. So there's like, it's always the strangest things. And like putting my bed sheets on, that was something I was so worried about when I was going to university, like changing my bed sheets, because you sort of like to hold one side, hold the other side and shake it. And I was like, how am I going to do that? How am I even going to put it in? How am I going to do all this? Doing dishes and stuff. There was just like all these things that I thought, how am I going to have an adaptation for? And it actually just took me to kind of try and do it and find my own way to do it. But I don't really like having a prosthetic type thing, because I feel like I can manage without one, and the only reason it would be for me to wear one is to make it look more normal. But I don't even care about that. So when I was younger I did, but now I don't. And
can you like drive and stuff? Like, is there any other things
that's
that
a
you can't do?
common question I actually get. Yeah, I do get a common question of, can you drive? And if you drive, will you drive an automatic?
Yeah.
And I didn't know until I tried. And I was trying to find instructors and stuff that I could talk to. And when it came to actually applying for my license, I had to go to this like test centre beforehand, where they tested whether I could do loads of stuff.
Right.
So like testing, turn the wheel this way, turn the wheel this way. Can you move this or move this?
Yeah.
And they were seeing how my angles were on my wrists to see how much I could move my wrists and stuff.
Right.
And they approved me for manual. So then I started learning in manual so that I could have a manual or an automatic.
Yeah.
And then I went and started learning in a manual normal and can drive. I can't drive because I don't have my license because I haven't done my test.
Oh, right, yeah.
But I
can.
can technically drive, just not legally.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I did have an instructor who took the absolute pee one time. Like, he told me I need an extra like 3 hours of lessons for practicing turning left.
Oh, I was like just trying to get money
Just
out of you.
trying to rip it. So then I left him. But
Fuck's sake.
I should be driving by summer. So
Yeah.
finger crossed.
So how does that, like, if you don't mind me asking, how does that work with like changing gear and stuff?
I can change gear fine. So like pushing it forward, I would just kind of like do that and then do that.
Yeah.
Because I've got that kind of movement, it's fine. The only thing I need to be careful of is, do you know how some cars, when you're going into reverse,
The wee
so if that wee thing
pulley
is
up
like
thing?
a pull-up thing, I can do that as long as it fits into this wee gap here.
Right.
Then I can sort of like do that type thing
Yeah.
on it. Or if it's like push down, I can do the push down. But like some of them you have to do both push down and pull up, which I
Yeah.
can't do. Which I couldn't just drive that car then. I
Yeah.
just couldn't drive that one. But I could get another one.
But getting automatic would probably be a lot easier. Like,
Yeah, I know. But I'd love to
Plus
learn a manual
automatic.
just to have the choice.
Just-
you know what I mean?
so bougie. Like, do you drive manual? No, automatic.
I think a lot of automatics are becoming more popular anyway. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of people are just going for automatic.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the type of car I want though does only be automatic.
What car
What
do
is
you
your
want?
dream car? Like?
Mercedes SLK.
It's okay. What? It's not
Convertible?
G wagon. No?
It's the one with a long bonnet, isn't it?
Long bonnet on
Yeah.
it, like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really
Convertible
like,
one, like.
Yeah. Yes,
Nice.
that's the one with red leather seats. That's
You
right.
thought, wow.
Got my eyes
thought
out.
whatever
So
else
you
did.
asked this question, you were gonna be like,
Prepared.
No, I want this car. I've been looking and I want this car. Like, that is the goal that I have for the year. I will be driving that car, or it'll be sitting in my driveway because I haven't passed my test, but I will have that car.
yeah.
Do you know
And
what I
the
mean?
price of diesel as well. So
I know, God.
Obviously, like, how do you balance things now with, you're still at uni? Am I right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you balance things now with like your social media, and then you're obviously driving your own career goals and stuff? How do you manage everything? Because I know, like, with us, it's like at the time whenever we had this and then we were working and then we were at uni, it was like, whoa, how do we do all this? But
Yeah.
how do you balance it now?
It is a struggle. Like, I sort of have to have a routine because that's the only way I can keep myself right and make myself do the things like that I need to get done. Because otherwise, like, I'm not really, I feel like most people in social media, they'll have a good management, but my management is more like, they're more a modelling agency, and I feel like I'm teaching them more about social media than what they're doing for me. So, and they say that whatever jobs I get myself, I can handle myself. So I do every piece of admin. Like, I'll do the whole negotiation or reaching out to brands and writing up a content brief and getting the approval and then the production and the editing and invoicing and then registering everything. It's
It
just,
sounds so much like there's so much to it. Like.
it is, but because I'm studying business, it runs alongside.
Yeah, that's what.
That's so handy.
Yeah.
Handy enough, yeah. but yeah, it's just, I think even whenever people ask me about like doing influencing and stuff, they forget that it is running a business at the same
Yeah.
time. And even alongside like making content, I'm actually getting businesses that are messaging me, asking me advice and whether it's about how to do TikTok or
Yeah.
if it's about how to increase their diversity and inclusion
Yeah.
in their brand. So then I have this kind of like run alongside each other constantly, and like it's more business than it is just social
But
media.
that's good that
influencing.
people are reaching out to you to figure out how, like, what are the
It
tools
is.
that we can use to like drive our brand, but also be like good in terms of like the diversification side of things.
Yeah, I feel like disability is left behind still. Like, it is. Any brands that say that they're representative, it sometimes just doesn't include disability.
Yeah.
It's very focused on, which is still good. It's very focused on like your body shape, your race, everything, different genders. It's like very open to that sort of thing, but not disability. I just feel like it's still majorly left behind and just forgotten about because there's not enough of a push.
No, I was going to say, is there like any brands that you think is doing a good job?
Exactly
with, like,
what
that
I was
sort
going to ask.
of connected.
Connected.
Yeah.
So in sync.
Well, I think like one of the places that I noticed, which wasn't even trying to make a big deal out of it, you know, them places that like really push, oh, we're really, really diverse and inclusive and stuff. Somebody that I actually noticed was, you know, Fenty.
Yeah.
Rihanna's Fenty. they have always been inclusive from the very start of like everything. Like they have always been very just open to making sure that they represent everybody. And then there's mostly, it's like a lot of small brands are more focused on being inclusive than the bigger ones. Like the bigger ones are usually very tokenism, just like putting the most diverse one right in the centre of the group, and then everybody else is just the average, what you'd usually expect to see.
Well, for the wrong reasons more so, like just to say that they're doing it.
To create like a USP for themselves versus actually achieve something.
Yeah, and then there's Bernadette Haggins actually said something like sort of covered that. She was sort of saying like she was doing a shoot and a lot of them were like, oh, can you like do this with your leg and like put your leg here, and it wasn't like, oh, they want to photograph me. It was more like, oh, we want to make sure like people know we're focusing on this.
It's like they're treating her like a disabled model instead of just a model who has a disability. Like I've actually spoke to Bernadette about a lot of this.
Have you?
Like we've had so many conversations about this because we're both kind of in the same industry and different disabilities but still kind of experiencing the same things, and she has such good crack that you can just really openly talk about anything with her. And that was one of the things we talked about, just how they're so like, they will just have you, it's almost like, I'll do this then, I'll just smile like this, and then she'll get her leg up and she'll just do that, and it's just like, we're not trying to be just our disability, we're loads more things, but we also have a disability. Like it's not just all that we are type thing.
And have you had any brands that have sort of like annoyed you or like done anything like that to bother you, where they're like, oh, can you do this, or like, you know,
you don't have to name.
I have had, it's not that they necessarily would say do more with your hand. It would be like, we love your uniqueness and what you put into your content, and we just want to see that reflected in the content that you produce for us type thing. So they would kind of, which is sort of like, that is the type of content I do and does go well with my content. But at the same time, why can't I just kind of do something that's similar but without putting it right in your face just because you're asking me to? But it's more like the more type of things that I experience, which really does my head in, and I don't want anybody to get offended here if anybody has come up to me, but people that come up to me and go, oh hi, yeah, you're the girl with one hand from TikTok, and it's like, why is that? Like, how is that type to approach me? Like, you're the girl with one hand. It's like, no, I'm India. I am India. I have one hand, yes, but it's not my identity.
We get that sometimes where it's like, you're those guys off TikTok, or you get, you're that cunt off TikTok.
Well, I'd rather one hand than cunt, to be honest with you, but yeah.
I was in Dublin, like the other day, and like getting off the train, some guy just looked at me, he was like, TikTok, and I was just like, like, what? You know what I mean?
Or you're that podcast on TikTok. No, we're a podcast and we're also on TikTok. It's like, that's not, but I wouldn't even have the again, this comes back to maybe you like what's good about you coming on things like this is that people who are listening to this get to be more informed as to like, it's okay to ask questions, but it's not okay to do this. Do you know what I mean? And it's mad that people, like, I wouldn't have the guts to turn around and be like, oh, like, you're that girl. Like, I wouldn't even perceive that as being in like how to approach you, if you know what I mean. But it's mad that people actually,
it's a perception that they've been given type thing. I don't think a lot of the time it's their fault. Like, I don't think everybody's like the villain that's trying to be doing things wrong. Just the way that they've been brought up with society and everything, they think that that's okay. Do you know what I mean? It's not until you actually address it that they know that it's not, and I don't blame them for it. But I still want to say that it's not what I want. And do you get a lot of people noticing you, like? Oh yeah. And I love it. Did you say at a time there was people outside your house? Oh yes. So there was, they drove up. How did you know about that?
He was one of them.
TikTok.
You don't recognise me without my binoculars and my ghillie suit. No. You did do
I have a big glass door.
She was just like, I thought you looked familiar.
Your mom. That's why your mom came with you. No, you did a, I think it was a story or a TikTok or something you done where you're like, guys, youths are outside my house. And I was just like, there's people outside your house. What?
Yeah. It was
at
like
that stage I was like, we need to go. Like.
Yeah, it was like a full family outing. So it was.
What?
It was like this car drove up to my, and I swore, I kid you not, do you know, like the side that was facing my house, they were all on the window, the windows were down, they were all looking out, reaching, pointing out, and I was in the kitchen, right, just minding my own business, and I looked down and I was like, Mummy, what the hell? They're all like looking in. And then I went like looking down. I was like, they were all at my front. Like, my door is like a pure glass door, so it's like you can see straight through the whole way through to my house. And they were properly glaring in. And this is just after my video went viral. This was like a day after the main rock paper scissors one went viral.
So this was recently then? Like not too long ago?
Yeah, this was like 2 months ago. And they were looking into my house. And it's not the first time I've had people called my house.
What?
Yeah.
What?
That's just weird.
But like, what do they say? Like, what happens there?
Do you invite them in for tea or?
I try and be polite. I don't, because like they don't. it's a bit of an invasion of privacy, but I
Yeah.
don't think they mean any harm at the same time.
Yeah.
But they're at your house, like,
Yeah.
How
they're
do they even
rapping
know
on
where
your
you
door.
live as well?
God knows, like I've maybe posted something maybe before you can see the front of my house, and if somebody lives local they'll say, oh, I know that street.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
People on the internet are detectives, like.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Oh, that brickwork looks very familiar. That's crazy.
But like, yeah, I had people call and they're just like, can we make a TikTok? Like,
Seriously?
Oh,
Yeah.
bugger off. No.
That's not
No.
on.
Why are you even saying,
But,
like,
like,
oh, I try to be nice to them?
but,
No.
like-
No.
I
you don't.
can't, I feel like I struggle with putting my foot down with stuff sometimes because I don't
Put your
want to
foot-
be mean.
Put your foot up their ass and say, get off my property. Like,
That's the
that's
thing.
not okay.
The thing with it as well
That's-
is like, say you had reacted body and been like, nah, just fuck off. Like then they probably would have went and been like, oh, she's a bitch. But then
Yeah,
you're like,
and then I
you
get
two showed
cancelled.
up at my house. Like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
there has to be a line somewhere.
But what was it? Who was it? Olivia Neal put up a TikTok and it was like her skirting away. I think she drives like an SLK or something. Like,
Yeah,
it was like a
I
video of her
want
like
her car.
skirting down the street.
Yeah.
And literally the top comment, because I sent it into our group chat, was just someone being like, no tax in that though. So someone actually went, like, seen the TikTok, paused and went, that's her number plate, DVLA tax checker, and looking up on it
What
like,
the
aye,
fuck?
she's insured, but she's
I
no
seen
tax.
that, you know, and I actually seen that, and I was like, "There's no way she's not taxed." But I looked it up then because I was like,
Yeah.
"Are they
Yeah,
lying?"
I looked it up too.
And then I was
Yeah,
like, "Oh
I
my
looked because
God."
I sent it into the group chat and I seen the top off it and some guy just commented and goes, "Oh, shiny car but no tax." So was it you or is it a fake account?
No. Yeah, it's me. I have so many fake accounts to give myself a wee boost sometimes whenever it's not going viral.
But that's like the fact that you'd even be like, oh, like try to be nice and stuff about it. No way. Like, be different. I think it'd be different if you were over in Liverpool.
Yeah.
And like people seeing you out, like, because obviously you're like, it's a city, like you're out walking about the streets and someone may have seen you go in and out of like an apartment building or something and they're standing out and they're like, oh, but the fact that people would actually come
To your
to
house.
your house
Yeah.
is freaky.
Yeah, no, it is. It is scary. I say this to my mum before. I was like, if this keeps growing, and because people just know where I live, it's a local area, and people in the local area know me, and then by word of mouth they can tell other people I know where she lives or something, and it just takes somebody to go past your house, and it's just kind of scary. And I say to me, we're going to have to maybe consider moving to the countryside or something, just so that we have like peace and quiet away from things from my area. But like,
It's a
I
no
don't know.
from me.
It is a bit freaky.
Is that something that you think about though as you're getting bigger? Like, fuck, like more people are going to be noticing me and like, how is this going to affect my life, if you know what I mean?
It's not really. So it's just the house aspect, like your house, because it's like where my family live. It's like
Yeah.
they
Your sanctuary,
don't-
like.
Yeah, whereas I have like wanted this, I've welcomed this into my life and to be
Yeah.
part of my life, so I don't overly mind people speaking to me. I'm a friendly person, I actually enjoy it, like as I said.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's people actually recognise my parents and all now, like
Seriously?
when they're and my granny as well, because I made one like or two
Oh.
TikToks about my grannies.
What's mad?
And now my granny messaged me, this girl, she sends me selfies with random people. This girl knows you. She says she knows you from TikTok. I'm like, wow, what am I meant to say? Yeah. Thanks for watching.
And do you find like even over in Liverpool you get a lot of people noticing you and stuff? Like?
More after the rock, paper, scissors. And
Yeah.
I feel like somehow in the TikTok algorithm, wherever you post from, they you kind of register that to go to the area that it's around type thing.
Yeah.
And it got to a lot of Scousers and stuff.
Yeah,
So all the
that's
Scouse
And
ones.
just imagine if someone approaching your granny in like the city centre and be like, are you India Sasha's granny? It's like, yeah.
I
Do you
was,
want a picture? Do you want to do a TikTok with me?
I was up going up a river one time up the Moorings, just like on a wee day trip in like spring last year, and there was another like couple sitting down in one of the rock pools, and they shouted up to me, "I love your granny," and I was like, "What?" She goes, "I watch your TikTok, your granny's good crack," and I was like, why not me though? Like, okay, you love my granny. Oh, but it's freaky. It's a whole different type of life. Like it is strange, but it's still like I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think, like, the whole getting the pictures and stuff, like, have you ever had people who walk up and I wouldn't even know, like, if people walked up and like, can we do a TikTok? Like, what the heck? Like, why?
See, my thing
What
is,
would you
right,
do there? Like,
I don't dance on TikTok, and they always want to do dances, and I can't for the life of me remember the dances. So they come up to a TikToker, expect a big good TikTok video, and they're let down because I can't do them. I can't bloody dance.
do you have like jokes and all in your back pocket? You're like, I'm gonna. Yeah.
I have some of them. Like there's the wee easy
Oh, you
ones.
do? Oh, I didn't realise.
Well, there's just like there's things that I just say because I
Yeah.
like to kind of like. It's the handy ones, you know, just the ones that I
Yeah.
like. I see whenever I
Nice.
came in here. What is it? You kept saying something, and it was like, on the other hand, oh, that's handy. You're saying these things and you're not really registering that you're saying them. And in my head, I'm thinking,
Bernadette.
I was just about to sign
Bernadette
the time we had Bernadette on.
She give you an awful
Ross's face.
And I wouldn't be like you. I would be really, like, if you take me out of this sort of setting, I would be quite awkward.
yeah.
And what was it I said? I was like, is there
Face
any brands that
so
you'd really
red.
want to like get your foot in through the door? And she was like, foot in through the door, and I was like, yeah, foot in the. Oh, there we go.
The way she played it, she was like, "Oh, that's
But
so fucking rude." Like, but then, like, obviously, she was joking.
She
You
was proper like hair flick, and I was like, oh, I've really offended her. Really.
No, but we made a video together one time where it was like an insult off type thing. Like we were just having a go at each other, and I can't even remember what the jokes were, but like hers to me or something was like, oh, well, give us a hand, India. And I think I said something to her back, and it was something to do with her leg too. But that's like the kind of, I enjoy people who are like that, who don't take life too seriously and who can make a joke out of those things. And I have to say, sometimes making people feel uncomfortable is a little bit enjoyable. Like it is.
Oh, you can see in her face, she was really enjoying it.
Oh yeah.
And I think she latched on to me. She knew
You were the
he does
victim.
not like this. Like that's not for me. Like, that's I still can't get over the fact that people have actually came to your house.
It's mental.
And record me around around Tesco, like just record me on the Snap thing, because I noticed this girl picking up jam, because I was trying to get stuff to make a cake, and this girl, she was like in a school uniform, she was like maybe lower sixth or something, and she was like picking up jam, putting jam back down, and then picking up like lemon. She was just picking up random stuff. And I was thinking, right, this is something. I think this is something, but I don't want to be up myself and assume that she knows who I am. So I was just like kind of playing it off, and then I started going on a wee path around Tesco to random places and going back on myself, just following me the whole way. And then I noticed her phone was like sitting pointed at me. And then I kind of made myself like go out of my way to be in her space so that she had the opportunity to say to me, oh, I know you from thing, can I get a photo? Instead of just following me around and recording me.
You've clearly been watching like detective movies where they're like, if you feel like someone's following you, just take like 4 lefts.
I do things head on though. I would be like, I didn't want to be mean and be like, are you following me?
Yeah.
But like I made myself known to her that I'm right beside you right now.
She's like,
just
no,
go.
I'm waiting for your granny to come round.
I don't want to speak to you.
We are kind of getting to the time where we're going to wrap this up, but I feel like the best way to sort of wrap it up is like anything, you're doing your thing now, but what we've talked about, the I'm a celebrity side of things, and like if this happens, fair play.
Yeah.
What's the next big thing that like you know is like coming up, or something that you're kind of like, I know there's stuff you can't say. There is probably stuff you can't say. I love asking these people questions because you're like,
I'm trying to think of all the things. What can I say? Because
Well,
but
this
if you
doesn't
I don't
do
want to
say
get raw.
something, if you do say something, we can take it out. But like,
Okay.
a lot of people are very good at hiding things from us while the camera's recording, and then after we stop, they're like, actually, I am doing that, and we're like, what?
Yeah. Well, there maybe is something that I've previously said that could potentially be in the works. I'll leave that open.
Who are the people you enjoy like following on TikTok and stuff? Like who are the like the content creator people that you're like?
Oh, I love just people who just take the piss all the time. Like either take the piss or feel good content. Do you know, like Murph's Life, who goes and he like is like builds homes for people in Guatemala. Do you like that? And I love him. And then on the other side of things, there's like Driafalo. I don't know if you've heard of her.
No.
She just takes the piss out of men, and there's something about that I love. But it's like men that deserve it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like really just bad people, but she does it in a way that it's just funny as hell. I love things like that. And then people who are like me, making relatable content for me, because for the first time in my life I have relatable content. I can see people who are making jokes about things. There's this guy in a wheelchair, and he always makes jokes about they're really, really dark jokes. I couldn't even think any to come to my head, but like really, really bad ones. Yeah.
I feel like
Funny.
TikTok's just opened up a place now where people are doing these like jokes and stuff, but like even around the time now, what was the guy I seen the other day, and you're just like, oh my, why would you put that up? He was like, people are talking like putting this, putting that. And he was like, how about you come put that ass in my face or something? And I was watching it, and he just like walked along, and he was like a typical like one of them like I'm so good looking guy, like do you know what I mean? And he was like, oh, people are talking putting this, putting that, and it was like so many people were duetting it, being like, oh. And I remember seeing it, and that really like, is there anything that you've seen on TikTok that you're like, right, shut this down? Like, is there any trends and stuff? Because there's so many trends now that I feel like just get out of the, like people are doing them now, and I'm like, why do this? Like, this is so weird.
Yeah. Oh no. The only thing that would just, anytime anybody comes up on my For You page and they're like talking about something that they clearly have like no knowledge about at all. Everybody's professional nowadays, and it's just kind of like you're giving false information to other people. It sort of annoys me, and then I comment something really sarcastic, like asking them a question that has absolutely nothing to do with anything. Like my daddy's an engineer, asks people, can you go get me a skyhook when that doesn't exist? It's like I'm commenting, asking questions about stuff that doesn't exist, and they're actually answering them, and I'm like, right, there you go, you're clearly talking shit now.
What TV show are you doing then? Yeah, we kind of just glazed over that.
Yeah, there's something that may be happening, and I hope it'll be happening. So I do, because it's something that's on the big goals list, like the big goals that I really want, and it could lead to other things. So I'm hoping that that's going to happen. I can't tell you what it is though. Like I actually can't tell you. They're very strict. So they are like.
Me and Shay are looking at each other like, nah, we'll get it. We'll suss out.
Yeah, but
well, to be fair, if people can find your house, they'll probably work out a way of figuring out what it is. Like, no problem.
Just don't share it to Reddit, because them ones are different. They're a different breed. They can find out anything.
Oh, Reddit's scary.
Reddit is freaky. I ended up on Reddit, viral Reddit one time.
Just got on it, but it's fucking weird. Like, it is so weird.
I didn't even know. I'd never been on it in my life until somebody said I was shared on it. It went viral on Reddit, and all the comments, it was a whole different breed of weird comments. Like weird, like actually weird.
Yeah.
Like things you'd find in a weird magazine that you subscribe to whenever you're like hiding in a basement, like that type of weird.
Jesus.
Sure, we had the guy Tiernan Heffron on this podcast who met Taylor Swift, and he had to actually make a story the other day. I was like, I'm not seeing Taylor Swift. Someone had like fabricated like a lie along the lines of like Taylor Swift was doing the dirt.
You're that famous, people are making up rumours about you that are like positive.
And I'm like, I don't think I'd have come out and be like, no, I'm not seeing Taylor Swift, but like, you know what I mean? Just pure clout, like. You know, he'd have been selling out stadiums if he'd have just kept that going, like. But it's mad because one of our podcasts, his podcast, got shared. I didn't know it, but my girlfriend, her sister, massive Taylor Swift fan, and that community is weird and wonderful. And our podcast got shared to like a massive Taylor Swift fan account, and like the comments, like I went into the comments and it was proper like, oh, at 11:38 he discusses this, does this mean that Taylor Swift's secretly engaged? And I'm like, how have you got that from him literally saying like she handed me a £50 note? And like it's really weird. Like I couldn't imagine being like the topic of that. Like, are you going on and reading about yourself and like there's people saying stuff about you and you're like, no, that's not.
No, I just laugh. I do read comments. There was something before, I can't even remember what it was, but there was like a proper ridiculous, like that type of thing, rumour said about me. It was, I can't even remember. Oh, I wish I could remember what it was, but it was like a completely out of the blue rumour, and I just found it funny. I just laughed, showed my mum and daddy. I was like, yo, they're saying this happened or something. I can't even remember what it was, but it was entertaining. It's more entertaining than anything.
We'll wrap it up there. If you don't already follow India, go do it on TikTok and Instagram and all that there. And you'll catch her on next season's I'm a Celebrity with Katie Hopkins and Gemma Collins. Thank you very much for coming on, taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you.